The most hilarious episode in a long time occurred in episode 17 of season 1 of Georgie and Mandy's first marriage. While the comedy is usually entertaining, it rarely makes me laugh out loud. On most occasions, it's more subtly funny. I couldn't help but worry about Georgie and Mandy's first marriage when I discovered how much funnier this episode was than many others. Even though I enjoyed two idiots on a dirt bike, the exception. Even while Mary was never my favorite young Sheldon character, her sequences here really sold me on the new show. Not only was she worried that Missy may follow George's route and have an unplanned pregnancy as a result of her relationship with Todd, but there were other reasons as well. Throughout young Sheldon, Missy was constantly overlooked. She lacked Sheldon's intelligence and George's charisma. Mary is at a loss as to how to parent her now that she is the sole surviving family member. While that was the heart of two idiots on a dirt bike, the situation was both tragic and humorous. What I loved most was when Georgie tried to track down Missy and Todd by phoning Beth and Mary in an effort to piece together their whereabouts. Such humor brings to mind the golden age of television comedies like Jack Benny and I Love Lucy. The argument between Mary and Audrey was intense as well, subverting their typical disagreements. The two women were funny as they shouted pleasant words at each other. There hasn't been an episode focusing on Mary or Missy that ended up being one of the funniest in Georgie and Mandy's first marriage until now. Before there's an issue with that, let me say, the Big Bang Theory spin-off series Georgie and Mandy's first marriage is unique among them in that it does not star Sheldon. Therefore, it has made a concerted effort to stand on its own, bringing in Mary and Missy only when absolutely necessary. The program might be considered independent in theory. The show's emphasis is on the Mallisters rather than the Coopers, and young Sheldon isn't involved in many of the stories. Thoughts of Sheldon versus Connor or the Mallisters versus the Coopers inevitably arise when comparing the two series. That isn't inherently negative, but the absence of the Coopers appears to sap half of the show's comedic punch. However, episodes such as episode 17 of season 1, titled Georgie and Mandy's first marriage, make it seem more like young Sheldon is expanding into this show rather than standing as its own entity. These Cooper-centric episodes are fantastic for the show and feature characters we've grown to love over the past 7 years. Like how Joe Reagan's death perpetually overshadowed events on Blue Bloods, the inability of Missy and Mary to move on after George's death will be a fundamental aspect of this show. It is expected that George's life will be occasionally disrupted by their turmoil. What really stood out to me about this episode was how it tackled the problem of Georgie, a teen father, attempting to prevent Missy from repeating his own mistake. When Georgie warned Missy not to experiment with sex, she believed he was being hypocritical because he had gotten a girl pregnant. Following Georgie's confrontation with Todd, I found this question to be somewhat difficult to answer as well. Georgie was playing the part of the archetypal shotgun dad, which is something I've always found annoying. Things could have turned out considerably worse, but Missy and Todd learned the hard way after attempting to flee together. George Sr.'s handling of the Missy scenario is something I find myself pondering. The fact that you're here means that you aren't viewing anything. I appreciate it. Get involved by leaving a comment or sharing this with others if you're feeling generous. What a profound impact. Perhaps it did not materialize. Missy would be less likely to act out if her father were still living. She was very much a daddy's girl. The fact that her relatives couldn't see her may have been a catalyst for her actions. Yes. Are you married? No. Pregnant?